When did Civil War cavalry fight demounted, and how did that affect tactics? Have you ever wondered how cavalry units adapted their strategies during the American Civil War? One key aspect was their decision to fight demounted. This tactic became increasingly important as the war progressed. Cavalry units often demounted when the situation called for more stable, infantry-like combat. This shift was especially true in skirmishes, raids, or defensive actions where holding ground mattered more than mobility. For instance, during the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863, Union cavalry found themselves in a situation where they needed to hold their ground against Confederate forces. They fought demounted, using their carbines to skirmish effectively until infantry reinforcements arrived. This allowed them to repel Confederate mounted charges and maintain their positions. Another example is the Battle of Fisher's Hill in 1864. Confederate cavalry under Major General Lunsford Lomax demounted to extend their defensive line. This tactic was not without controversy, as some commanders believed it misused the cavalry's strengths. However, it demonstrated the evolving role of cavalry on the battlefield. Demounted fighting shifted cavalry tactics from traditional mounted charges to more infantry-style combat. This change emphasized defensive positions and the use of firearms like carbines and revolvers. As cavalrymen engaged in prolonged firefights, they became more versatile, taking on roles that included direct combat support for infantry and holding key terrain. The ability to fight demounted also allowed cavalry to conduct ambushes and raids with greater stealth. For example, Confederate cavalry under J.E.B. Stuart often demounted to conceal themselves before launching surprise attacks on Union forces. This tactical flexibility became essential as the war progressed. However, dismounting had its drawbacks. It reduced cavalry mobility and the shock effect of mounted charges, which were still valuable in certain situations. Commanders had to find a balance between fighting mounted for speed and impact and dismounting for firepower and defense. The evolution of cavalry tactics to include demounted fighting was driven by advancements in weaponry. The increased effectiveness of rifled carbines and repeating firearms made demounted combat more valuable. Cavalrymen could deliver accurate fire while on foot, enhancing their effectiveness in battle. In summary, Civil War cavalry fought demounted primarily when terrain or tactical objectives made mounted combat less effective. This practice transformed cavalry tactics, allowing them to perform a wider range of combat roles beyond traditional mounted charges.